All right, 10 seconds, Marta.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Live at Epiphan. This is episode 99, and today we're going to be talking about how much does it cost to live stream. Now, as you can see, I'm here by myself in Ottawa, but Marta's joining us from our Palo Alto office. Marta, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Cameron.
Hey
Hello,
Marta,
everyone.
how's it going?
Pretty good. How are you, Cameron?
I'm good, thank you very much. I just want to point out to our viewers how much painstaking work we put into lining up the desks right here. So the scale isn't 100% perfect, but I think it looks pretty good.
I would agree.
And how's the weather down in Palo Alto today, Marta?
It's raining. It's just pouring rain.
Raining?
It's horrible.
Oh, man.
Still horrible. I mean, anything is better than snow. I'll just say that right now.
That is,
it has been raining a lot.
that's totally true. Anything is better
I hear
than
you
snow.
guys. I hear you guys are up to your noses in snow.
Oh, yeah, we had 40 centimeters of snow yesterday. It was brutal. It basically shut the city down. Schools were shut down that have never shut down before. Like schools that haven't shut down since the ice storm of '98. Thank you very much, Lisa. Lisa was actually here for that ice storm.
I survived.
Yeah,
Lisa
if
survived.
it's not obvious enough, Lisa survived. It's not the ghost of Lisa producing the show today. She made it out in one piece.
Today's a great day. It's Valentine's Day. And Cameron, I was going to ask you if you could be my Valentine for the next 40 minutes.
Of course, of course. I will be your Valentine. Marta, how do I do the...
I'm so happy.
How do you do... There you go.
There you go.
It's a heart. And my heart grew 2 sizes today. So we'll...
to everyone else in chat.
Yeah, exactly. And everyone else on the chat, happy Valentine's Day. Send out your happy Valentine's Day messages. Let us know you're on the chat. Say hello, and we can give you a shout out. So we've got Rudy Ingalls. He's saying good evening. So Rudy, maybe let us know where you're streaming from, if if it's the evening time for you. And of course, Stefan. Stefan is our, I think, our permanent Valentine's on the show. He's always watching.
He is.
And George Birchall. George had to run home this afternoon. He had a little family emergency. So George, let us know if everything's okay. And Drew Smith. Oh, we had 12 inches of snow. So that's like a foot. 12 inches. How many centimeters is a foot? I don't know the conversion.
So 2.5 times 12.
Okay, that's pretty close. That's
30.
Yeah, that's like 30 centimeters. And we're expecting some freezing rain this afternoon, so that's going to create a nice layer of ice over all of the snow that we've had. So.
I'm sorry, Ottawa.
Yeah, don't apologize. We chose to live here. We chose to live here.
It's lovely in the summer.
And we've got Steve Stern as well, HVD from New Jersey. So what does HVD stand for, Steve? Oh, happy Valentine's Day. My brain is overloaded with acronyms. We've got, it's like acronym town around here half the time.
High video definition. I'm going to go with that.
Oh, high video definition. Okay, cool. I like that.
Works.
I like that. That works. So, so we've got some news
or
to share.
It could also be Happy Valentine's Day. But let's ignore that.
It could be
it's high definition video.
The slightly more likely explanation, but maybe. Oh yeah, Steve validated that for us. It is Happy Valentine's Day. Thank you, Steve. Happy Valentine's Day. You can also be our Valentine, our plutonic Valentine for the day. Now, some of our news to share with our viewers. We have our 100th episode coming up next week, and we do have a contest going on, and there's still about 6 days left to enter. So we've had a few entries come in. We've had some really great material, some great videos that our folks have submitted online. And what we're looking for is just a really quick clip sharing with us about why going to NAB or ISE in Europe is going to make a huge difference in your video production skills and your abilities. It's going to take you to the next level. And if you are the winner, then we're going to hook you up with accommodation and airfare for both of those events, and of course tickets for the show floor. And you get an opportunity to co-host a show with us. So Marta gets the day off, or I get the day off, and we'll just we'll just do the show. You can just do the show for us down at NAB, and I can go to Hell's Kitchen and party.
That'd be great.
We also have a cool giveaway that we did a couple of weeks ago. So we had our friends from streamingchurch.tv, and we did a quick contest with them. And if you shared our video from the show and liked both the streamingchurch.tv and Epiphan Facebook pages, then you get to win a Webcaster X2. Now, I don't know if Pat and Rich are watching today. I was watching for them on the chat, but I didn't see them. So it did come down to two of our viewers, Pat Denami and Rich Neely. Now, Rich and I'm sorry. Oh, Rich and Pat's here. Okay, cool. Hey, Pat. Thank you for tuning in. Now, I've got some great news. We did have the 2 finalists, and because we have oodles of our Webcaster X2s, we've actually decided to give one to both of you. So I'm just going to pass this over to Marta. Actually, that would have been really clever if we had Phil on the other side. So what we're going to do, we're going to reach out, or Brittany from streamingchurch.tv is going to reach out to you, and we're going to get your shipping details, and we'll send those out to you right away. And then we're going to want to see how you're using them, and how that benefits your church streaming efforts that you're doing down there.
Pat just commented.
Oh, Pat just threw up a comment? Yeah. All right, Pat.
Oh, awesome, Pat. Nice to see you in chat. And congratulations.
Sweet.
Right, Cameron, thank you so much for the news rundown.
Yeah, of course.
Shall we move into our main topic for today?
Yeah, so our big topic today is talking about how much does it cost to live stream. So Marta is going to run us through a few examples. We're going to talk about a few questions that we're going to be asking, kind of ask yourself before you get into a live streaming scenario. And really the first question that you want to ask yourself is, should I do this alone or should I hire a professional? So Marta, why don't you kind of explain a little bit more about that question and kind of some of the details there.
Right. So that's a very important question to ask. What kind of production are you doing? Is it large? Is it small? So for example, if you're thinking about, can I live stream a concert tomorrow or in a few days? The answer is probably no. It's going to be very hard. There's a lot of equipment involved that we're actually going to be talking about later today. So for that, you might need to actually hire professionals. There's also a scenario where you might just need a phone. If you are trying to cover some piece of news really, really quickly, you need to be online swiftly. You have your phone out, you're just going to go on YouTube, hit live, and you're golden. But there's also that kind of area in between where you can think about experimenting with different equipment, where you can try doing it on your own. For example, if you're a gamer who is streaming from home, or in real life streaming, which is getting really popular right now, or like if you're streaming a friend's concert, right? Your friend is giving a concert in his backyard. Those kind of scenarios are very interesting to try out your own live streaming skill, I suppose. So again, to reiterate, if it's mission critical, if it's a very important event, you should probably be thinking about hiring professionals. In the end, it's going to save you a lot of stress. It's just going to be better for everyone.
Totally.
You're going to get a good product if you hire a professional.
And I think, Marta, one of the things...
however... Sorry, go ahead.
One of the things that I've experienced with doing live production and encouraging my clients to get online and start streaming online is that they've done it themselves, they've tried it themselves, and they've had a lot of luck, and they've gotten views, they've gotten a good engagement off of it, and they kind of don't see the value in actually paying for a professional. But we've kind of got to the point now where there's so much live streaming content and there's so many great tools available that viewers aren't really as forgiving for lower quality video. So it is worth paying that extra money and hiring a professional, or investing in gear, like getting professional gear yourself, and starting to bring on some other people as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I would say that a good piece of advice is starting out small, a small production, and then kind of growing into it and seeing how much you can add on to it add on to the production and kind of grow slowly.
So what kind of things are we looking at when it comes to doing a production? Like there's a lot of different things that go into it. Let's kind of go through those three topics that kind of let us understand a little bit more about that live production itself.
So the 3 points that we came up with were, first of all, how much equipment are you going to need? And this can branch out into renting versus buying. So this is all kinds of gear, cameras, audio inputs, all other gear that you can think of. So that will affect the production cost. That's the first thing. The second thing that's going to affect the production cost is the duration of your stream. For example, our show usually runs for about 30 minutes, 40 minutes. So that is our duration for the live show, for example. If you're going live on a free CDN, that's going to be free, obviously. Then if you're going live on a paid CDN, the duration is going to affect the overall cost. Also, we have to think about how many people are involved, because obviously if you have people working for you, you're also going to need to pay them. This, again, if you're hiring your friends, this could be a different scenario. But you're still going to have to see how big your production is and see how many people you're going to need for that production. So those are the 3 things. How much equipment will you need? What is the duration of the stream? And how many people are involved?
And of course, we stream for free every week using Facebook and YouTube. So those are 2 examples of free content delivery networks. And then, of course, there's a whole lot of other platforms that you can also stream on for free, and you can pay for additional services that incorporate paywalls. You can limit the viewers, and then, of course, you're paying for that service too. But if we start to kind of get into the equipment side, so we're looking at how many cameras we need to get, what kind of audio gear we're setting up. Is it better to rent or is it better to buy?
So this depends on how much, I guess, how committed you are to doing live streams in the future. If you're planning to do more than 1, 2, 3 live streams, then it might be better to buy. I know you, Cameron, are a fan of buying and knowing that you have that equipment on you and you can access it anytime.
Totally. I like having that kind of equipment chest and that gear closet and knowing that it's available when you need it, because you know, if you've ever run into the situation where you want to rent gear and it's not available from your local equipment house, it can be a little bit stressful of trying to source that equipment out. And a lot of the time, if you know it's a piece of gear that you're going to use very often, then buying it and then you know, basically having it available for your productions, it's going to pay itself off very quickly. Versus that rental cost, if you're renting a camera every single week to do a live stream, that's just not very practical versus buying a camera. But if you have a one-off piece of gear, like a crane, or you know, if you need a drone, then you're going to use it one time. You have to get a license, you have to certify it. It's much better to rent that gear or hire a professional for that one-off time.
Exactly. And then you were also giving an example if you're traveling. So for example, if you're traveling from Canada to the US to do a shoot in the US, you don't have to carry all that gear. You don't have to worry about it at customs, like forgetting it or someone stealing it or whatever.
Totally.
And you can, right?
Yeah, you get to that, you kind of get to that point where if you've got a lot of production gear, and if you're going somewhere that you may not be able to rent that kind of equipment, then it would be worth packing it all up, having good hard cases. Like for example, for our conferences that we go to, we send all the gear out, we ship it all out in advance. It's all done with bonded, insured shippers. But if you're flying out and you know, you've got maybe United Airlines handling your luggage, I know we're going to get in trouble for saying that, then you could end up with a whole bunch of broken gear, or when you get across the border, you could end up paying duty for that gear, or maybe when you bring it back, if you didn't have the right kind of paperwork. There's proper paperwork that you can set up within Canada called a carnet, and that allows you to basically register all your equipment, what its cost is, but you have to pay for that service. So at the end of the day, you really need to look at the math and say, okay, is it worth it? Is it worth my time? If I'm paying $75 per checked piece and I've got all of this equipment, is it worth doing it, or can I just pick it up when I get there? One of the
Exactly.
rental companies that I've used before in the States, and Lisa, sorry, if you could just take us to the laptop channel, is lensrentals.com.
Picture.
I'm sorry?
I don't see anything on your laptop.
Stand by 1 second.
So just to reiterate real quick, if you feel
Well, that's
like you're going to be
embarrassing.
live
Never mind.
streaming a lot, then buying is a good
And
decision.
I hit the wrong button there, sorry. So one of the websites, we'll get that sorted out in a minute, but one of the websites that I like to use, or one of the service providers that I like to use, and I think I've got it fixed up now if you want to try again. Is it showing on there now? No, still not showing? Okay. So one of the sites that I like to use, and we're going to throw that link up on the show notes later, is lensrentals.com. The way that they work is they'll actually pack everything up for you in hard cases. They'll wrap those hard cases up in cardboard, and they'll ship them to UPS. I think it's UPS or FedEx. They also include all the shipping labels for you to return that equipment later. So you go pick it up the day before or the morning of, get everything unpacked, check your gear is good, use it for the shoot. Once you're all done, everything goes back into the hard cases, back into the boxes, and you just ship it right back. So you can drop it off at a shipping location, and you don't have to worry about that hassle of lugging all that gear around, and also being liable for it. And they do provide insurance as well. So if you were in a situation where you broke one of the cameras or dropped something or dropped a lens, then you have that additional insurance coverage through them, and really don't have to worry about being responsible for that cost.
Renting is also a good way of trying things out. So if you want to try out a new lens
whole laptop
or a
thing
new
just
light,
threw me for a loop.
It's a great way.
Sorry, Marta. Now,
What's
the
up?
next thing we want to talk about is how you actually do that live stream. So why don't you kind of run us through the difference between a hardware and a software encoder when you're actually looking at how you're going to set up that live stream itself.
Our favorite topic, encoders. So you need something to go live, obviously, in terms of streaming hardware or streaming software. Streaming software means that you have an app on your computer that actually does all that encoding for you. So you're using your computer's CPU to encode the video, right? And then for a hardware encoder, the hardware encoder is going to do all of that for you. So for example, right now we're streaming using our Pearl 2. That's a hardware encoder. But that's like pimped out hardware encoder. You can go live with something more simple than that, like a Webcaster X2, for example, which is like a one-camera encoder. And you can still go live to Facebook or YouTube. So the choice between those two is really up to you. We have a great article on our website that talks about the differences between hardware encoding and software encoding. It really comes down to how much you need your laptop for other things, because there's a big toll on the computer CPU. We talk about this so much. You guys probably know all this by now. But you need to decide what you're going to be using for encoding. We feel that a hardware encoder is a better choice just because it's a dedicated device, and you can plug in all your sources and kind of forget about it. You're going to have your laptop free for other things. So that's the take on that.
And Marta's totally right. Obviously, we're going to drive home the fact that a dedicated hardware encoder is the way to go, and that way you don't have to worry about slowdowns or any kind of interference you might get, or even just like running an operating system like Mac or Windows. It's going to eat up so much more of that processor, and you have the reliability of something that's solid, and you know it's going to work. And we coincidentally have those in stock right now for you to check out on epiphan.com. Shameless plug there for you.
Right.
Now, what's the other thing that's going to cost us some money, or something that we should be testing out in advance, is that internet connectivity, right? And that's something that we struggle with here in the office. Obviously, we're in a technology park here in Canada, and even the neighbors, like our neighbors below us, they eat up a lot of the bandwidth. We have another team on the other side of the building here at Epiphan, the QA team, and they often are doing testing and streaming, and they'll be eating up a lot of bandwidth as well. So we use a dedicated line here just on the studio side, so that there's no, we don't have to compete for any bandwidth like that. But how would you go about determining, if you're going to a location, kind of figuring out how you're going to have that internet and how you're going to set it up?
So that's always tricky, especially at venues like for trade shows or for expos. We always kind of have that question, how are we going to get the internet? So hardwired internet is obviously the best thing you can get, but that could really cost you at big venues. Another good choice is using LTE. Uh, we actually have an article on that too. We are talking about, in this article, cellular bonding and LTE and how to use both of those for streaming. Now, the costs that go into that could include the actual data plan. So that's probably the biggest thing. And it could also include the cost of the Wi-Fi router that's going to be giving out the Wi-Fi. I mean, you could, of course, use your cell phone as a hotspot, right? But that's not the most reliable way. So you got to look at how much the venue is going to charge you for hardwired Ethernet or internet. And you also got to look at, if that's too much, then you can look at an alternative, which is LTE. Then you have to really look at the providers, look at their plans, look at how much data they're offering, and probably include the price of the router for that as well.
What happened there?
Are we having some technical issues, Cameron?
Sorry, Marta, my audio
We'll
just
be right
went
back.
out on me for a second. I don't know if you can hear me or not, but
I can hear you, Cameron.
why don't you tell us a little bit about the calculations on how to determine if, how much data costs in the U.S. versus Canada?
So yeah, sure. So again, the two biggest players in the U.S.
No? Okay.
are Verizon and AT&T.
Sorry, Marta.
Cameron, you there?
Keep going. Sorry, Marta.
Okay.
I was just...
Awesome. Okay, so the two big players for cellular internet are Verizon and AT&T. And the general price per gigabyte is about $4 to $6. It does sound like a lot, but that's what they charge. I hear that in Canada, it's even worse than that. It's even harder to get LTE internet. But they're different plans. Both Verizon and AT&T offer different plans depending on how much data you need. So knowing how much data you need is a very, very important point. Now we have a calculator for you, Cameron. I don't know if you can pull it up for us or not.
Yeah, you bet. And I do apologize to our viewers. Just between switching back between the sources, I've been kind of jumping up and down and trying to determine if one of our cables died. So I think one of our HDMI cables that we were using for the laptop might have fried out. So we've got that sorted out now, and we've got a really cool calculator that we'll throw up a link to on our show notes. And it allows you to figure out kind of how much bandwidth you'll be expected to use. So this one is the lowest quality that you'd be throwing out on a stream. So that's 640 by 360, 30 frames per second. Our bit rate on here is this is all just the default information. So we take a look at that for a calculation.
So right, if you plug in all the numbers,
yeah, so
you're going to get. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. So we plug in all the numbers. If we do just that basic 640 by 360, so even lower than what Facebook allows, then we're looking at 1 megabyte per second. So that 1 megabyte per second, if you're going to be streaming that for for 30 minutes, so that's 60 megabytes per minute times 30. Which is not math that I can do in my head, but that's why I've got a handy calculator. So you're looking at 1,800 megabits. Now, that's going to be a lot of data, especially if you're using an LTE hotspot, and that number will just exponentially climb as you go up to that 720, 1080, and even that 4K level, because you can stream up to 4K on YouTube. And if you're not set up with the proper data plan, or if you think that you could do it off your phone and maybe you're not paying attention and you just blew past your 5 gig cap, it could end up costing you thousands of dollars to do that. So that's something to take some research in advance. as well as take into account if you're at a venue using that hard line, then it could, go over their cap, or you could end up, kind of flooring the connectivity for the whole event. There was that, remember that Apple launch where Steve Jobs was begging everybody in the audience, you need to get off Wi-Fi, please stop, because it was like just killing the event. And of course there's reporters, there's people there that are, given the breaking news from the Apple event, and it was just a disaster.
Mm-hmm. So definitely keep in mind how long your stream is going to run and what quality you're using to stream. So even for this show, I think we're streaming in 1080 to YouTube, right?
Yeah, we're doing 1080 to YouTube and 720 to Facebook. And of course...
Facebook, that's...
And sorry, Margaret, and of course we're doing that simultaneously. Because we use a Pearl, we can do both of those as custom streams out via RTMP. And then you can actually have those both going out at the same time. So it's not just like the 720 and then the additional for the 1080. Those are two separate channels that are taking up, basically that double data rate.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, one of the solutions for that would be using a CDN. And if you were to broadcast to that CDN, then they take on the additional bandwidth requirement to actually broadcast down to all the multiple platforms that you could be using. So if you're looking to do more than just 2, if you're 3 or 4, then that's really going to add up quickly on your end versus just setting the one channel up to the CDN, and then they will disperse that out, from their servers.
For example, I know that our friends are at StreamShark.
I just want to take a quick look at the chat and see if we have any questions on there.
Do we have any questions in chat, Cameron?
Sorry, Lisa, the guy turned off again up there.
Are there no flat rate data plans in the U.S., Canada? I think there are flat data plans. Cameron, do you know more about this for Canada?
Marta, I don't know if you can hear me. We're just having some technical difficulties on our side here.
I hope we're still live.
Cool, I can hear you again now, Marta. Sorry, were you going
so
over?
we're still together, right? The half hour.
Oh yeah, don't worry.
Awesome.
Our Valentine's Day is still flourishing, and it's
great.
Definitely on our end. This is not an issue that I've ever encountered before. We're using a Rode mic. It's a Rode Cinema wireless relay, and I've got that plugged in here, and for some reason it just keeps turning off, which is like bizarre. So I think the battery level might be getting low, or yeah, it looks like it's pretty low on there. So, but
and I know that the sound on our end is not ideal. We apologize for that. We tried to get it as best as we could, but this is live streaming. This is what we do.
Yeah, totally. Well, and this is kind of the name of the game, right? Like you can test and test and test and prepare as much as you can, and then you kind of get thrown by a loop by one thing that I forgot to check was actually the battery level on that lab. So, Marta, why don't you give me like 2 minutes of stalling time? Why don't you go through the comments again, and we're just gonna put you up just solo on the screen. And I'm going to sort out that lab issue for a minute, okay?
Okay, great. I'm gonna ask my commenting assistant to tell me if there are any comments in the comment section, and maybe read them out to me, and I will try to answer them. I know there's a question about flat data plans. So when I remember doing research on Verizon and AT&T in this article that you can check out on our blog, again about cellular streaming. So Verizon and AT&T both offer plans that are data-based, right? So you get, for example, 60 gigabytes for, I think it was $60. Maybe I'm wrong. I think it was around that. So basically, you have to kind of estimate how much data you're going to be using. And then based on that, you're going to have to pick a plan. I really am not sure about flat rate plans. And then also you're going to have to really check what's going to be happening after you're out of those megabytes, right, or those gigabytes. For example, Verizon has it in their kind of rules. They drop the bandwidth significantly. So I think they actually drop it below 1 megabit per second. So it's really not worth it for live streaming. So for each case, it's very different. For Europe, it's different. For Canada, it's different. So you're just going to have to do research and really get into it and read all the fine print, because there's a lot of fine print. Phil is going to be helping me with comments. Are there any other comments in the comments section for us? Sorry, folks, we're experiencing some technical difficulties.
Stefan asks how you're streaming the show. Yes.
So Stefan is asking how we're streaming the show. Stefan, shout out. Thank you for watching every one of our shows. Thank you for being there for us. And we are using a Pearl to stream this. We actually have kind of a weird setup. So I'm calling in via Skype, and then Ottawa is using that signal as one of the inputs for one of the layouts, I suppose.
Hey,
and then they have
Marta,
another layout on Pearl where it's just me alone.
Sorry,
Cameron,
Marta, so,
I can hear you.
Yeah, so you can hear me. So I've bounced back again, and thank you everyone that's watching on the stream. We've sorted out the audio issue. I totally messed this one up. I didn't test the battery level on the transmitter for our wireless relay, so we just scrambled. George Herbert saved the day. Usually George is hosting, and I think he's probably probably gonna just throw some batteries at me later. But what we do here in Ottawa is we do use a Pearl 2. And the way that we're feeding Marta in is we have just a laptop, and that laptop is feeding out an HDMI channel from Skype, and then we're also ingesting a output from our Pearl 2 using an AVIO. AVIO is another Epiphan product that allows a video input with audio and video, depending on what you're using, just over a USB 3. And so that's coming back into Skype, and that's our camera feed. And so that's also the way that Marta is seeing this show. So that camera feed that's coming out of the Pearl is being sent back to Marta down in Palo Alto.
Super easy.
Super easy. And I think I saw a comment on there that I just wanted to thank. I saw it earlier. Glenn, yes, thank you, Glenn. We appreciate it. It would not be a live production if something was not going wrong, and that's kind of the truth. We we have some more material for the blooper reel. I think we'll probably end up adding some of this to the 100th episode. But and sorry, Marta. Now that we're kind of like a little bit sorted out, I should be able to hear you at least for like the next 10 minutes before something else dies. Yes. But we can jump back onto talking about our topic at hand, which was how much does it cost to do a live stream, aside from your dignity, which it seems to be costing us today. But that's I don't know how you can put a dollar figure on that one. So where were we? We were just talking about internet connectivity. Did we talk about CDNs and how much those platforms generally cost and what kind of services that we could be looking to get from there?
Right, so let's actually jump onto that. So in addition to internet costs and gear costs, you might encounter some streaming platform costs. Now, if you're going live to YouTube or Facebook, that is free. However, you don't have as much control especially for certain things like monetization as you could. And then YouTube and Facebook also serve ads. So if you want something more private and a bit more control for embedding on your website or for monetization, you could look at another CDN, like a special CDN like Wowza or the Cast or Vimeo Livestream or something like that.
And of course, Streamshark is one of those CDNs too. And we've used Streamshark before, and they work really well for being able to send that signal up and then send it back down. And Marta, you made a great point about monetization. One of the things with YouTube and Facebook is that you have to actually hit like a certain number of viewers before they'll allow you to run ads and have it monetized. So if you're planning on going live and you don't have a huge following, but you need to make a little bit of return off of it, doing it off of Facebook and YouTube initially may not be the best way to go, versus using a paid platform like Vimeo, where you can set up that paywall and you can get some revenue right off the bat for those views. And then as you continue to grow, you can build out your audience a little bit more and experiment with different kinds of CDNs.
Mm-hmm. But if you are going to choose a paid CDN, what you might want to look at is the way they charge is, again, by bandwidth. So how many gigabytes are you sending out to them? So that's how the plans are distinguished. And for that, you're going to need to know the number of events you're planning to stream per month. That's important. The size of your audience. So, for example, for YouTube, it doesn't matter how many people see it, you're not going to get charged for it. But then for a private CDN, it's important how many people they're serving it to.
So we have a great calculator for that. Or sorry, Streamshark has a great calculator for that. So,
yes, Streamshark does have a calculator for that.
And we will include that link in our show notes again. But let's kind of go through a few of these figures. So how many of these shows do we do a month? We'll say four per month.
Mm-hmm. Let's take the live show as an example.
Yeah, let's
if we were going to use a private CDN, how many gigabytes might we use?
Totally. And now, how many people usually view our stream? Now, we usually have between 30 and 40. I think they might be dropping off today as we're experiencing some technical difficulties, but we could say.
No, this is a show. This is a show. They're sticking around for the fun.
And how long on average would a viewer watch your stream for? Let's assume that they're going to watch it for the whole time. We'll say 45 minutes, maybe.
Perfect.
And
then we're going to have to figure out the bit rate.
Yeah, totally. So what was that number that we had figured out before? That was for 640 by 320, so that's not accurate for our show, but just for argument's sake, we'll use it for this one.
I think we should use about 5,000 because that's more or less realistic what people are using.
So at 5,000, we're using 203 gigabytes per month.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's
quite
what
we're setting up.
That is quite a bit of data that we're going to be ending up paying for through one of these CDN platforms. And
so then we might be more interested in like a yearly plan. So we pay for the whole year and use it unlimited number of times.
Totally.
And then if we were only doing one show, for example, then we might choose a pay-as-you-go type of plan, which also exists. So, for example, let's take Vimeo Livestream. Their cheapest plan is $75 a month, but it's billed annually, so you have to pay for the entire year. Or you could pay $199 per month, billed monthly, so month by month. So other platforms offer different other plans. So, for example, the Cast has a very, very basic $19 a month plan. Streamshark plans begin at $50 per month, and then they go all the way up to $250 a month. Wowza offers plans starting at $49 a month, and then go all the way up to $1,000 a month. So it all depends on what your needs are, how many gigabytes you're planning to send up there, and whether you need any other bells and whistles like storage or monetization or anything like that.
Totally, and I think Wowza was one of the ones that we saw that was providing some specific service for in real life streamers, so IRL streamers, because really at that point when you're streaming constantly 24 hours a day or 18 hours a day, that's gonna be a lot of data that you're going through, and having the right kind of CDN set up will definitely save you a lot of money outputting that video and making sure that you're hitting your viewers reliably and consistently.
Oh yeah. For example, Wowza, actually, it's that point. Wowza offers a plan for 24/7 streaming, which is priced differently. So if you are planning to go live 24/7, they have a special plan for that. That's probably the best to choose out of all others.
All right. Now, what's the last thing that we kind of want to touch on when it comes to the cost of live streaming?
So we were also talking about how many people are involved, because that's man hours, People ain't gonna work for people aren't gonna work for free. So you're going to be looking at so each camera generally needs an operator, right? Unless they're PTZ cameras. So every video input is probably going to need an operator. Also, you're going to need people to do the setup, do the teardown. Doing it alone is very, very difficult. We're going to be talking about an example that we did a bit later. Then there's things like mixing and switching. So for example, for this show, Lisa, shout out to our producer Lisa, she's actually doing the switching between the different layouts that we have. And another thing is if you need something more for your live stream, if you need overlays, or if you have a scoreboard that needs to be updated all the time. Actually, we were talking about how there's a lot of preparation that goes into that as well. So you're not going to be making the overlays on the day of. You're probably going to be working on them before and have them all prepared. But the point still stands that someone needs to be there to do all of those overlays for you.
That's right. The pre-production that goes into these things is really where you start off, and that could be a lot of investment before you even get to the live event day. And you're looking at doing graphics with a graphic designer. If they're motion graphic overlays, that's going to be someone like a motion artist working on those. And even just pre-planning and the time it goes into actually trying to figure out what you're doing, going to the location, testing things out. That's all time that you're going to be investing into it. And like Marta said, no one wants to work for free. So at your initial stages, when you're getting started, you're going to have friends helping you out. Maybe coworkers are going to help you out, but then that's going to start to cost in man hours.
And we were looking at this website, right? We were looking at the thumbtack.com, which is a great resource to kind of ballpark how much it might cost you to do live streaming for a day or for an hour. What are the crews in your area? So this goes back to hiring professionals.
And yeah, this is a really cool resource on here. And I've just got it loaded up on the laptop now, so we can kind of look at an example. Now, Marta, do you remember what zip code worked for us to actually get an hourly rate? Because it wasn't 90210, which is the only US one.
You tried 90210. 94403.
94403. All right, so we have looks like we've got a little bit of a range here. So this one, the lowest estimated cost I see on here is $85 an hour, and the highest one is over $1,000 an hour, so $1,050 per hour.
And that's for basic stuff, right? Remember that filter that we have on the right?
Oh yeah,
or on the left, actually.
So if you didn't have an internet connection, and if you were doing multiple cameras, and check off all of these, I think the result is just going to be view profile and contact us for more. Oh no, here we go. So if we had no internet connection, so your video production company is providing an internet connection, they're providing multiple cameras, they're doing live sound effects, live titling, you're going to be paying up to $1,000 per hour, and looks like as low again as $85 an hour. But these are just filters that we have on the website, obviously contacting companies and getting estimates and quotes and figuring it all out as you go is what you'll have to do.
Yeah, there you go. So that was very interesting about the internet. So the task of figuring out how to find internet if you don't have internet at the venue actually falls on their shoulders. Then you don't have to think about how to find internet. Which is stress relief. This just goes back to if it's mission critical, if you need it done right, then think about hiring professionals to do it.
Totally. And I've just seen one of our longtime viewers pop up on the site. So Faithfulness, thank you for viewing today. We still haven't seen your entry come in for the big contest. So let's get that in right away, because I'd love to see what you could put forward for that. And happy Valentine's Day, of course, to Faithfulness. Oh, now actually, there's something from BBI Productions. So I don't want to let too much out too early, but stay tuned, BBI Productions. Stay tuned.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued, Cameron. What is this?
Lisa, if you see it, it's just one of the last comments. Almost like Pearl maybe needs NDI. Interesting idea. Yes, it is interesting. Very interesting.
Very interesting.
So before I say too much, yes, it could be could be something. But stay tuned, BBI. All right, now why don't we take a look at practical examples? So Epiphan Video, we're not an integrator, but we often find ourselves with opportunities where we can partner with friends of our company, or maybe get involved. And there was a fashion show that actually came up. Was that in 2017, Marta, or 2018?
That was 2018. That was May of 2018.
May of 2018. So that was kind of, would you say it was led, like Dan Wallace was kind of leading that, or he did a lot of the legwork to put that production together?
Yeah. Dan Wallace did a lot for the production. If it wasn't for him, it would not be a success. So yeah, he did a lot of legwork. He actually ended up renting. Okay. So we're actually going to go into the fashion show example, kind of explain how we did it and which costs went into that. Talk about our setup. Thank you, Cameron. And so he actually ended up renting a lot of the equipment because he was traveling from Canada to Palo Alto. So these are some of the things that he ended up renting. Cameron, would you mind commenting on this?
Yeah, of course. So what they ended up doing was they had a couple of cameras. So there was the two cameras, I believe, that they rented, a camera with a Steadicam rig as well, so a stabilizer rig. There was a lot of different audio gear and wireless relays that went into it. Now, a lot of this is equipment that we just don't have in-house here at Epiphan. So I think Dan went through Lens Rentals as well, but essentially everything that was in use was rented for the event. Now, Marta's put this document together, or this diagram together, kind of showing the intricacy of what we were dealing with. So multiple cameras, multiple relays, multiple audio. And
that's right.
And at the end of the day, for
we
that,
actually had,
oh, sorry, Marta.
Sorry, I was going to explain a bit more about the setup. So we had Dan rigged up with the camera, so he was mobile around the fashion show, so he could take interviews. He was free to move around. And then, in order to kind of catch his signal, we didn't want to do a cable, so we had this Teradek bolt, which was a receiver. It was receiving the video signal, and then that went directly into Pearl. So that's something we definitely don't have in-house, something we definitely had to rent. The cameras that he wanted and the lens that he wanted very specific ones, so he ended up renting those as well. And so in the end, I think it was about $6,000 or so for 2 days, but there was a lot of equipment. So
totally.
He also got little things like sandbags and gaffer tape. So he made sure that everything was covered.
Yeah, all those consumables add up as well. Like when it comes down to the stuff that you actually you use and end up throwing away at the end of the day, like gaffer tape. But we have a quick clip, so if we jump over to the laptop channel, we'll just take a look, and it's super high quality, the result of that live stream effort. So this one, I believe, was from Dan on one of the cameras that was mounted on a tripod, so just going down that fashion line. And then there was also an example from the roaming camera that Dan had set up, and that wireless relay from Teradek just gives you just a super reliable signal, so you don't have any interference between the camera and the receiver, because obviously when you're doing a live setup like this and having a live shoot, you wouldn't want to have any static or any kind of interference on there.
Mm-hmm. And then they also had the internet in-house. They were able to provide us with a hardwired connection, which was really great. So we streamed for about 2 hours, and I think we were streaming at about 5,000 kilobits per second. I think that was the number.
Yeah,
and we were able to do that pretty successfully.
Yeah, that sounds right. And that was I don't know, sorry, Marty, if you mentioned this already, but that was a 4-person operation. So even, right, for an event of that size, to pull it off with 4 people was really impressive.
Oh, yeah. It was stressful, but we were very happy at the end when everything came together. So again, we had one person man the mobile camera. That was Dan. I think we had Victor at the SETI camera. He was with the tripod. So he was, it was pointed down the runway. And then we had someone at the switching station just switching between the different sources at the Pro 2. And then I think I was just running around making everything was okay.
Yeah, you were the fixer for the day.
The fixer.
Yeah, the fixer. All right, well, that pretty much covers everything you're ever going to need to know about doing a live event. And of course, I say that sarcastically because every scenario is going to be different. And really, when he gets into it, do your research. Make sure that you're looking into what options you have, what's available to you, sorting out your gear, sorting out your talent, and like we say every week, you don't want to be caught in the moment having failures. And as we say every week, hey, we've done it again because something seems to have come up. But we've been watching the chat a little bit, just trying to see if there's been any questions on there. There's another one from Stefan, just about NDI and for piping in a direct channel for Skype. So maybe the Pearl needs a kind of Skype or other video chat input thingy. There is actually NDI available from Skype Business. So that's something that we're currently looking into as well. And we're going to talk some more about NDI on future episodes and look at doing a little bit more features and explaining how NDI works. And it would definitely be a great option because then it takes that extra bit out of the equation. And that's really where you're going to see the most success, is that if you have less Band-Aid solutions along the line, you have these more reliable and kind of bulletproof setups. And just kind of looking through here to see. And Faithfulness says yes, sir. So I think that means that she's going to enter into the contest. So we should be seeing something from her soon.
Come on, guys, enter into the contest. There's just a few days left, right? There's about 5 days left.
Yep. Yeah, we'll
Enter.
call it
Prize.
6 days.
We'll
leave it open to the 20th,
Vegas.
right till the end of the day. And I will personally buy you as many White Castle burgers as you and I can eat. We'll go to White Castle together. They have like 100.
Wow.
Have you been to White Castle in Palo Alto, Marta? Have you been there?
I actually haven't. No, I actually haven't. No.
Man, next time if I'm in Palo Alto, we'll go to White Castle. Or you can just go to White Castle whenever you want. But all right.
Awesome.
Yeah, actually a comment from Craig Randall. Our service provider just put our bill up $20 again without any warning. Now, one of the things, and Marta, I'm sorry if you touched on this while I was AWOL there, but one of the things, if you are using a hardwired internet connection, then they can end up throttling you after you've gone over your cap. So even though it's kind of advertised as an unlimited connection, if you look in the back end, that unlimited maybe 1 or 2 terabytes, which if you're doing live streaming consistently, that's going to eat up pretty quickly. And then instead of having that 150 megabyte per second account or setup that you're paying for, they're going to throttle you down to 25 or 10 megabytes per second, which would make it really challenging if you are A, trying to run live streaming, and then B, even just have regular operations.
I mentioned the fact that sometimes if you go over, they lower your bandwidth significantly. But you're right, they can also add their unexpected costs on top afterwards.
Totally. So Marta, do you have any plans? What day is it again today, Marta?
It's Valentine's Day, Cameron.
It's Valentine's Day, and I'm so sorry. I was gonna get you something for Valentine's Day, and I forgot. Oh, there!
No, I got
that.
it, Cameron. Here it is, Cameron. Thank you so much.
So happy
so
Valentine's
nice.
Day, Marta.
I'm blushing, Cameron. Did you send it via a mail pigeon?
It was
Canadian mail pigeon?
sent via a Philip pigeon. So Philip helped take care of this.
Thank you, Philip.
We were gonna do this at the beginning of the episode, but Marta is very fair skinned, and we didn't want her to be blushing and throwing off our color temperature for the day.
Thank you, guys. This is really nice. I feel very special all of a sudden.
All right. Well, I think this is as good an opportunity to wrap it up as any. So we've got pretty far. I think we have some vodka in the freezer that I'm going to be taking care of in a couple of minutes. But thank you everyone for watching the show, and please make sure to tune in next week. Next week it is our 100th episode. So we've been doing this, 100 episodes in a row, and it's just seamless and perfect every time, as we like to show off. Now, we're going to be looking back at our last 100 episodes. We're going to be taking a look at some clips. We're also going to be announcing the big winner for our contest, so please make sure to tune in. And again, if you haven't had a chance to enter, please send in your entries now. That's going to be open right till the end of the day on the 20th. And yeah, we've got some new material for the blooper reel that we'll be playing next week.
Oh, yeah.
Marta, thank you very much for joining us all the way from Palo Alto. And
Thank
again,
you, Cameron.
thank you everyone for watching. Make sure to tune in next week and follow us on all the socials on Facebook and YouTube as well.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.